Hey everybody, this is Matt. Welcome back to the channel, and today is going to be a day where I think we can finally button up a lot of the little small things and get a lot more of the interior installed. So in my last video I showed you the seats are ready to go in, the air conditioning and radio bezels ready to go back in, and really all this kind of stuff I have sitting over here, a lot of this, the center console, all that just can go back in now. So I think we'll be able to make a lot of progress today. I did need to go ahead and take the gauge cluster back out of the car because I did go back out there after the last time I kind of checked in about this and waited for it to get dark outside and turned all the lights on in the car, and I certainly had some issues that I needed to address. So one of the turns, I think it was this turn signal, wasn't working. That side was. I had lights that were staying on that shouldn't be staying on. I had lights that were not coming on, and so all sorts of things. So the issue there for the most part is that with the LEDs is that they have a polarity. The LEDs have to be plugged in the right way. There may be a way to read that off the circuit board in the back. Maybe if you're an electrical engineer or something, you could find which of these are negative and positive, and then maybe you could figure all that out. The only way for me to really know was to take each light bulb that wasn't working and turn it 180 degrees and test it. So that's what I did. I still have a few more that I need to check, but I feel pretty confident that I got all the ones that weren't working. I picked up 10 E74 bulbs. Now, number 74 is also a bulb size, but the E74 is just a slightly different dimension, and I believe it's the more common bulb size for European and Japanese cars. And I'll put a link to this to Amazon where I picked this up pretty cheap down below. I think the bulbs that are distinctly on or off, like the turn signals, the high beam light, and some of the others, that they have a distinct on and off feature. I think those can be LEDs, and you're not going to have any issues doing that. Most of these big ones, a lot of the turn signals, things like that, I've left as LEDs. I just made sure they were in the right orientation. A lot of these down here at the bottom are some sort of warning light, or your seatbelt sensor, your parking brake sensor, etc. Those all seem to have a small amount of power that they always draw, and so it's small enough that it actually powers the LEDs. And I think if I filmed it, the brake light or the parking brake sensor is dim, but as soon as you engage the parking brake, it brightens up. I didn't want to fiddle with that too much. Except for the high beam light, I did go ahead and replace all these with the standard E74 bulb. I was also having some issues with the way that the backlight on the odometer was kind of showing up. I just went ahead and put a standard bulb in there as well so that I didn't have to worry about it. And again, a lot of these things are not things that are always on. They're things that are just on for a warning or whatever. So it is kind of a bummer. I was hoping the LEDs would kind of make this thing pop, but I do need to make sure it's functional and I don't have things triggering that don't need to be triggered. So I don't think it was necessary, but I also went ahead and put like the oil level and the coolant level sensors on a regular bulb, again, just so that it functions the way it needs to function and I don't have to worry about the LEDs accidentally coming on and off. And with this out of the car, I did go back around and tighten up a few of the screws and make sure everything was buttoned back in. I am going to apply some more felt tape, just because there seems to be a couple locations that it probably had it in the factory condition and it's fallen off. With those adjustments, I do need to make one more check on these bigger bulbs just to make sure. It looked like they were all lighting up, but I'll want to make sure one more time that is the case. Let me get the few last things I needed to get done to this. We'll go back out to the car and start getting all this stuff buttoned back in. Okay, so hopefully the lighting is okay. I shut my garage door, try to make it dark as I can in here. But it is still daylight outside. So anyway, I just plugged everything back in, and I did just a once over to make sure everything looks like it's lit up. So this is maximum brightness on the dimmer switch. And again, I put white lights kind of as the primary lighting, and then where I could, I did try to go ahead and put in the colored lights. But like, for example, the brake light is now working. So if I set that down, that goes off. It comes back on, and so the high beams, so that blue light there for the high beam, which will be hard to see in the camera, that is a blue light. I got the light for the cigarette lighter working, and I think all the other lights for the warnings and things, they all kind of come on. I was able to go ahead and use an LED here for where the light for the key is, and I did use an LED light for that. So if I turn all this off, take the key out, course, that is the light for that. So, you know, I don't have any random lights that stay on. You know, that one just stays on for a short time and then goes off after the door's shut. So anyway, it looks like I can completely install the gauge cluster. And, you know, I did leave it loose so that I could look back there and make sure I had all the lights and stuff that I needed plugged in, and I didn't have any that weren't working. So I can go ahead and completely install this, go grab the center console and start getting all that kind of worked in. Then we can do a thorough cleaning of the carpet and get the seats installed, and that should get everything for the inside of the car installed. And then last thing we have to do is work on the door cards. So it's probably been an hour since the last time I checked in, and I went ahead and pretty much just buttoned up everything. It was just, I want to try to get this done, so I went ahead and just focused on it. I've got the bezel for the radio and the AC stuff all fully screwed in. I got the cluster fully installed, steering wheel column controls and all that stuff fully installed. I went ahead and put in the center console as well, so it's fully installed. So other than like maybe the footrest and a couple other little small things, that pretty much completes everything inside the car. And I'll do like a whole video of like the whole thing once it's complete and got the steering wheel and all that stuff put back. It's been a lot of hot, sweaty work getting all this stuff buttoned in because it's just tight space, and some of the stuff you really have to kind of massage and force into the fasteners and things like that. And quick tip, if you're gonna do this and you have all this apart, make sure you put the bezel for the radio and the HVAC, put that in before you put in the cluster, because there's actually two fasteners, and I don't know why I didn't think about this, but I did end up having to take loose the cluster to get those fasteners back in behind there. So make sure you do that before you do the cluster, and everything should go pretty smoothly. It's pretty awesome seeing this all together because I haven't really had the car complete since I've had it. The center console I had was just kind of loosely thrown in there. I still have to put the shift knob on and things like that. I've checked all my connections again, make sure I've got power to everything. I went ahead and got the end caps here on the dash put in. I'm gonna go ahead and take a break because I am starving and I need to get something to drink. I need to regroup, and like I said, I probably need to go ahead and break out the vacuum and start cleaning this carpet up really well. And then I can probably just go ahead and put the seats in because you know, at this point I don't have anything else to put in. So I'm gonna go grab a snack and then I'm gonna start cleaning this up. Sorry if the lens is all foggy, but it's freaking 100 degrees in the beginning of October. But I thought it was probably prudent for me to go get some gas tonight if I'm gonna try to drive the FD tomorrow. So I've got my fire extinguisher, my car insurance up to date, my life insurance is all up to date, so I think we're good there. Went ahead and grabbed some premix, so I'm just gonna run a couple miles up the road to get some gas, but I'm really hoping that everything starts up. And it's hot as balls in here because I haven't been able to roll the windows down. So let's see if she starts up. Okay, so that's good. Make sure everything's off here and then see if I can at least roll my window down because it is hot. Hey, look at there. All right, so this is pretty sketchy. I don't have all the car put together, but I'm gonna see if I can get to the gas station before it gets too dark. So far I've made it to the end of the driveway and I started hearing a weird noise and I sound like something was rubbing or there was something leaking, and I have forgot to plug in my boost gauge. So hopefully it doesn't run too rough between now and the gas station, but it should be fine. But I'll definitely want to go ahead and get that plugged in tonight. Well, I made it to the gas station in one piece. We do have a few kind of random smells, which I don't know if that's just from stuff sitting around, but it definitely smells like maybe the brakes are, they don't feel too hot, but they definitely have a little bit of a smell, like maybe I need to make some more adjustment to the e-brake handle, which I never fully adjusted. I just got it tight enough in my garage. My steering wheel alignment technique sucks. I need to work on that for sure. But overall, all my lights work. I did have one light that was flickering on and off, so maybe I need to reseat that light. Nothing in the engine bay seems off. It smells like hot brake pad, so I'm hoping that's just maybe an adjustment with the e-brake handle. Otherwise, it's time to put some fuel in this thing and get back home. All right, made it back to the garage in one piece. Really no issues. And without question, all that insulation I put in there under the carpet has definitely helped. You know, normally this car would just get so freaking hot along this transmission tunnel. And actually it feels cool to me because I'm hot, but I don't feel any excess heat coming through the transmission tunnel. Granted, it was only like a 20-minute drive, so I did get the engine up to temperature. It was about 95 degrees today. So like I said, I noticed a huge difference in the performance of the, that carpet and the insulation. These seats, I know some people hate them, but I feel like they ride really well. It is a little bit taller than the seat was in the car, so I don't have as much headroom, but it's still just enough for me to drive. It's comfortable, definitely easier to get in and out of than the bucket seats that were in here. So I'm happy with that. And of course the shifter was awesome. It shifted great. It was nice and mechanical, clunky, just really feel it going into gear, no slop. So I'm really happy with that as well. Overall, I put a little bit of premix and some gas in it just to take it out for a real drive instead of just turning it on here in my driveway. It was great getting this thing back on the road. I wish I had a little bit more daylight because the headlights on this aren't super bright unless you have the high beams on. For the short term, I need to go ahead and adjust the steering wheel adapter again because I think the wheels look straight when I put it on, and they must have been cranked just enough to cause it. So it's like 90 degrees off. So I'll just rotate that and get that fixed. I can just pop the window switch there in the door and just to get my window up and down, but of course I wasn't able to roll the passenger side window down, so I might need to go grab the switches and just plug those in so that I can turn those up and down, because really with just one window you don't get a lot of airflow. I did turn on the fans, I did turn on all the different lights and switches, and other than the dimmer switch light kind of flickering on and off when I hit bumps, so I think it's either just a loose connection or I just need to play with that light bulb a little bit and get a little bit tighter. The other thing that is kind of, I don't want to say ironic, but I didn't really think about too much ahead of time was when I do flick the high beams on, that high beam light comes on, and with that LED light, it's extremely bright. You definitely know it's on, you're not gonna miss it, but maybe when I'm driving in the pitch black, it might be too bright. So I'll leave it alone for now. But all the LED lights that are in the car do look really good. At this point, the only warning light that I'm getting that pops on is for the four-wheel ABS, which that's not even plugged into the car right now, and I'll have to sort that out at some point in time. Either just delete it altogether or try to figure out what's wrong with it and why the previous owner disabled it. AC's never worked in this car, but it probably would have been smart just to hit the button and see if anything happened, but I didn't want to get my hopes up too much. Definitely a much better ride than it was previously. I did do a quick walk around to make sure there wasn't anything odd happening. There's probably a few spider webs that are kind of burning on the exhaust, and probably a little bit of dust here and there because it's been sitting for a while. Everything up here looks good. I don't see anything out of the ordinary. And like I mentioned previously, it was really the air pump that was squealing when I turned it on the other day. It wasn't the air conditioning pump. I don't even know if that's such a thing. There's a compressor. I don't know if it's a pump. I just unplugged it. The car seemed to run fine. I did get a little bit of a vacuum leak because I had the boost gauge unplugged. So there was a little bit of hesitations when I was under hard throttle, or maybe I didn't have my RPMs high enough when I shift gears. But once I plug that in, that should resolve that. That's not a big deal. So I'm really kind of torn if I'm actually going to drive this tomorrow or not. It was fun driving it tonight, but at the same time, I don't know if I want to be able to be out on the road tomorrow and potentially have an issue. So I'll keep thinking on it, but there's a few things I need to go do. So I'll check back in a little bit. I went ahead and fixed the steering wheel hub adapter, and I think I got it all straightened out finally. It might be off a little bit. I don't know if it'll ever be perfect. I don't know if there might be to be adjustment in the actual steering column to see if I can get the teeth to line up on that, but it'll be close enough for now. After that, I had a few little things, like I had to put the foot pedal, the footrest back in under the driver's side. You can't see it, but I got that back in. I zip tied the window switches just to the door for now so they're not banging around, but of course when I get the door card put back in, that'll all be fine. I'll probably go grab some tape to hold this plastic because it'll probably want to fall off while I'm driving. And I went ahead and put some oil, some tools, and premix in the back compartment over here along with my fire extinguisher. So I think this is ready to drive tomorrow. My office is about 17, 18 miles away, so it's not terribly far, but it'll definitely give me enough time to drive the car and see if there are any issues. So I think I'll go ahead and try to drive this tomorrow. I don't know if I'll take my camera with me. This thing will be ready for its first real drive tomorrow, aside from going to the gas station. And I know some of you guys are probably thinking, my shift knob looks crazy, it doesn't match the car, sticks up too tall, and I'm thinking long term, but yes, it does stick up too tall. I didn't realize the threads were going to be at the bottom of the ball instead of up inside at the top, so it is sitting up a little bit taller than I would like, but it's really not too bad, and right now I'm not racing the car, so it's not a big deal. The blue, that matters for stuff in the future. It just gave me a much nicer shift knob than what was in the car. So wish me luck for tomorrow, and like I said, if I think about it, I'll bring my camera with me. Otherwise, I'll check back in tomorrow evening when I get back home. Well, I survived. Nothing too crazy happened on our way. I'm still definitely getting some clutch slipping. I don't know, that's probably because it sat for a while and probably got a little bit extra oil on the clutch. So that's probably going to be one of my priorities soon, is to get that clutch fixed, because it just needs to go ahead and get done. But anyway, I have been pretty pleased that everything's been fine. I don't know if I mentioned this last night, but I did check the e-brake adjustment, and it seemed to still be fine. It was well within the factory specs, and so I think what's happening is just because the e-brake handle is so close to my leg and it's Alcantara, that when I'm making shifts that I might be catching it a little bit, which is then pulling up on it. So anyway, we will see what happens the rest of the day.